Hi, and welcome to Answers News for January 24th, 2019. Kind of an icy morning start.
It was an icy morning.
Here.
A lot of the schools closed in the area.
Yeah.
Slick roads. Although when I was out there, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah,
It wasn't bad when I came.
Do you realize if you're in Wyoming and they had weather like we had this morning, they'd think this is fantastic.
This is true.
But in northern Kentucky, everything shuts down.
Or
Shut down.
Even
if you get an
Canada,
inch.
you know.
Yeah, half an inch.
Because the other thing is in Wyoming, people know how to drive on snowy,
Now,
icy roads.
if they had weather like this in Brisbane, Australia, everything would probably be closed.
Well,
That
the whole,
was- yeah.
the whole country would shut down.
They
That's
wouldn't
true.
even have the coats to keep warm with, so
That's true.
that was
So
a problem.
people are starting to get online,
Yeah.
and
We're on Ken Ham's Facebook page, Answers in Genesis Facebook page, and Answers in Genesis YouTube
Yes. I'm seeing
So-
tons of different states pop up already. So.
channel. Yeah. Ken's
All right.
trying to get organized.
so we need to go through our fluff and stuff
That's
segment.
right. Go see Fluff
Okay.
and Stuff.
And Buddy Davis,
Mm-hmm.
actually Buddy Davis has an overnight adventure in some caves. And you can actually go to the Creation Museum website to get the information. But it's at Cumberland Caverns. It's in Tennessee. It's about 75 miles from Nashville. But he's done this before. And
It's really neat.
you can actually do caving and extreme caving, and then you sleep overnight in a cave. Now, there are some people.
You don't have to hang upside down like the bats.
No.
No, you'd have to do that. But there are some people that actually sleep in a hotel nearby, and then they come in for breakfast in the cave. They actually serve the meals in the cave.
Well, my daughter and husband did it several years ago, and they really enjoyed it, except for at night when people snore. It sounds pretty loud in that cave.
I can imagine that.
A lot of cave bears, let's put it that way.
Resounding off the walls.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I wanted to give you a little sneak peek here. At the Ark Encounter, we have a 2,500-seat multi-purpose centre that we're opening. In fact, we'll start speakers speaking in there in March.
Let's hope.
March, yeah.
And just give you a little look, I was down there. It's got LED lighting in the ceiling, so we can light it up like a rainbow, the rainbow colours. And see, the stage has a 70 by 22-foot LED screen that is absolutely amazing, and a massive stage, has a big lobby, and that's going to be operational very soon.
Better be.
It better be. Yeah, we got speakers.
We got speaking, and then we have several conferences in April, so we need that functional. So, yep.
So
Very
we also
exciting.
thought we would mention, because we'll deal with this in detail on Monday, but the governor of New York actually just signed a bill for the state of New York in regard to abortion.
Yeah, and this is all over the news. It's all over Facebook. It's all over a number of different sites. It's shocking.
It's to allow late-term abortions for health reasons, whatever health means.
And health reasons being very expansive.
That's right. And that's up to the moment of
Right up to
birth,
the moment
right?
of birth.
Right.
You know, there's even other aspects to this, and we'll dive into that on Monday.
But here's what I wanted to show people.
Shocking.
I wanted to show them this. As soon as the governor signed that legislation saying they want to kill babies, kill children, murder children in the womb, right up until they're born, look what happened in the legislature there.
The bill was first introduced in 2007 and removes abortion from the state criminal code and ensures women the right to an abortion in New York, should that federal right ever be changed by the Supreme Court. But Cuomo thinks it should be taken a step further.
So the article actually goes on and says the governor said it should be incorporated in the Constitution of the United States so nobody could ever change it, that you can murder children in the womb.
And even the One World Trade Center actually lit up
in
pink
pink.
in favor of this particular,
When you see them cheering there to kill children,
I know, it's shocking.
I mean,
it's child sacrifice.
They will stand before God someday.
I tell you what it tells
will.
me, God is long suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
He is.
for any one of us,
They'd have been gone. That's what I said.
there'd be a lightning bolt that would
Yeah.
have exploded that place.
Yeah. But we got to pray that those men and women, that they are convicted about what they're cheering about, and that they come to know that is sin, and they come to know Christ as their Savior.
But here's the thing that really gets me. When you look at the number of children that are killed by abortion in America since Roe versus Wade is 60 plus million.
Yeah.
How many in New York?
In New York, I didn't look up the overall numbers, but I did a calculation because I compared it to the World Trade Center, with 9/11 and everything that happened there. All total on the 9/11 attack, there was just less than 3,000 people killed in that one particular event. And yet every 2 weeks in the state of New York, they kill more than 3,000 babies.
Yep.
Already, and now it's going to be expanded.
And somebody said here, comment, this is nothing more than the return of Moloch worship, sacrificing of children.
Oh, yeah.
And it is.
Yeah.
But you think, okay, the Mayans sacrificed children, right? The Canaanites sacrificed children.
too.
But compared to the numbers they sacrificed, and we look on that and people talk about how horrible that is and how evil it is, how would today's numbers in regard to abortion compare with that? I think they'd be way above it.
Yeah, I think
it
we'd
would
have a
dwarf
lot
them.
more.
It would dwarf
Yeah.
them.
Think about even the Holocaust, how evil that was,
Yeah.
right? And the millions of people that were killed, right? But compared to the number killed by abortion, you look at it worldwide,
Yeah.
I mean, the Holocaust
Yeah.
pales in comparison. Do you
Yeah,
think
it really
God's
does.
just going to stand back? I mean, look what he did to Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look what he did to the Canaanites.
The only reason I think that hasn't happened in America, for instance, is because for Sodom and Gomorrah there weren't even 10 righteous people. And you know what? There are millions of people in this nation that love God.
Yeah.
And we see people coming to the museum and the Ark Encounter, and I think that this nation, because of that, God is very long-suffering.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of people who are repentant of abortions that they've been involved in. We want to encourage that and people to ask for forgiveness and turn to the Lord Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. All right, so let's go to our first article here. Parents, educators should scrutinize concept of gender and sexual identity in state's health education framework. So this is talking about in California, their new K-12 framework, which is basically going to allow and even promote a lot of these teachings on sexual relations, sexual orientation, and gender.
So this is going to be for kindergarten through third graders. If you're in California, this is what they're going to be introducing. And here's one of the books. And this particular book called Who Are You? That's the title of it, for K to third graders. It says in here, in chapter 3, in the book, gender is described as, quote, boy, girl, both, neither, trans, genderqueer, non-binary, gender fluid, transgender, gender neutral, agender, neutroid, bigender, third gender, two-spirit.
I don't even know what half of those are, or what they even mean.
You need to go back to kindergarten through grade 3.
I guess so.
Then in chapter 5, it introduces sexual orientation as a spectrum, with expanding the concepts to include queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, allies, and alternative identities, LGBTQIAA. And then chapter 6 includes pansexual and polysexual. That's for kindergarten through grade 3, coming in California.
Yeah.
Do you really want your children in those schools?
Yeah.
And the thing is too, because of the way that because it's part of the framework, parents are not notified that these things are going to be taught, and they cannot opt out. So for some things you can opt out, but not for this because of the way they put it in the curriculum.
Yeah, in fact, those parents probably don't even know when their kids are being taught this sort of thing.
Nope.
I thought this was interesting because it was actually written by a public educator who's been involved for 20 years, and even this is shocking them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it says that books such as Who Are You? With lesson plans have been provided to teachers and students through a free digital library, which can be accessed by public school teachers and administrators. They've done that already.
Right. Yeah.
And this is what's going to be introduced. I mean, this is worse than Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
This is
Well, I hope
terrible
people will,
stuff.
you can do public comment on this. So I hope those that are listening in California, even if you don't have kids in public school, get on there and make comments. I mean, people need to know that this is outrageous and should not be allowed.
The person that wrote this, who's a member for the Orange Unified School District, said, this framework will potentially have more impact on parents, schools, and our culture in general than any other adopted in the past.
Well, it could definitely destroy a culture, can't it?
Time to leave California, I think.
This is interesting. Somebody was talking about what happened, the New York abortion law, and they said, also it's ironic they lit the World Trade Center pink for this, since the names of 11 unborn children that died in September 11th are on the monument. So, the irony of those were considered lives lost, but
but all the babies they don't
inconsistent.
care about.
No, yeah. All right, fossils discovered in BC's Burgess Shale add branch to tree of life. So this is talking about the origins of the agnostids, which are supposedly, now they say, what they found proves that they are the cousins, the evolutionary cousins to trilobites.
Agnostids, that reminds me of agnostics.
Yeah, it does.
Agnostics, they say that they can't know if God exists. So I wonder if these things don't know if they exist. I always wondered about that.
You know what? The whole of creation cries out, there's a God.
Yeah, it does.
Romans
Absolutely.
1:20 says, if you don't believe, you're without excuse. I don't think they're agnostic agnostids. I think they're Christian agnostids.
There you go. Yeah, but these were found up in British Columbia, and they're very small. They're not really
Like
big.
a centimeter,
Yeah,
yeah.
and there are some trilobites that are quite small.
How do they know?
But they're fully formed.
Right.
How do they know they're related to trilobites?
Well, they may be going based off of some similarities in structure and things like that. They did find soft tissue with this, so that shows, what did that show? It can't be 500 million years old if you're finding soft tissue with it. It's got to be a lot younger because it won't last that long.
So they say that it's helping them trace the evolutionary process of species. Where's the evolution? These are fully
I know
formed,
they're
fully
formed.
functional.
That's the problem.
Exactly. Well, they even say it proves this. Their research proves the connection between trilobites and these agnostids. Nothing. You got to be careful with that word in science. We don't use it very often,
Yeah.
and so.
Notice how they say they think they've solved the mystery
Right.
of the evolution of these things and so on. But it's so typical of these papers that come out. In regard to anything they find in the fossil record. Wow, it's great evidence of evolution. But you don't ever see any evidence of evolution.
where's the evidence?
Everything you
It's a
find is
fully
fully
formed
formed,
creature.
fully functional.
Right next to other fully formed creatures in very deep rock layers. This is just early rock layers from the flood of Noah's day, so it's not that big of a deal. This actually matches up really well. When you start with the Bible and take a look at the evidence, but how they get evolution out of this, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
By the way, somebody here said in regard to previous things we talked about, 2 states I would never move to, California and New York. Here's the sad thing, it's happening across the nation.
Everywhere.
And
Canada.
if people,
They're just leading the way.
if we don't start raising up generations to stand on the absolute authority of God's word and have a truly Christian worldview, we're seeing the secularization of this culture. And sadly, I blame a lot of it on the church, because so much of the church has let the coming generations be secularized through the public education system and the media, and now hardly any of them go to church. Only 18% of millennials go to church, and Generation Z are less than that.
Yeah.
And now we wonder why we've got a major problem in the culture.
Yeah. Well, we got people in here from all over. I don't know about yours, but I've got people from South Asia, Ireland, let's see, where else? Quebec. All over.
I get someone here from Australia.
Oh, there you go.
There we
Gotta
are.
Get on Ken
As long as there's
Hansen.
someone from Australia, I'm happy.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, fake news. CNN claims around 1,000 people attended the March for Life. Oh, that's shocking.
Okay. So CNN, okay,
Very well respected.
they are.
They are?
They
Okay,
used to be.
not by
They used to
us,
be, yeah.
but overall, they're supposedly very well
Didn't
respected.
wasn't it President Trump who coined the term fake news?
I don't know.
I
It
don't
might have
know.
been. I know he used it. But
Well, he certainly popularized it,
Yeah.
put it that
Yeah.
way. Well, here's the interesting thing. So the March for Life was a march
it's a pro-life.
against abortion
Right.
and for
needed.
the lives of children in the womb.
Right.
Right? And it was reported on by CNN, and here's a post about that.
You can see some of
there's
the pictures.
misleading the public, and then there's CNN saying maybe 1,000 people showed up to the March for Life, and then they used photos of the National Mall hours before the march even began to make the number of attendees seem even smaller. Now, I want to show people something. There's actually a video of the March for Life. So CNN, the secular media, and most of the secular media is like this, they are brainwashing people.
Yeah.
They are deliberately lying. So let me show you this video. This is the video of the March for Life. Now, as you watch that, you can see there's only 1,000 people, right?
Yeah, they've estimated, we've heard estimates somewhere
Yeah.
between 100 and 200,000 people.
That's all the people leaving New
actually
York right there.
came. Yeah. California.
Or leaving California. Yeah. So Some
at
estimates
that.
even say 200,000 to 300,000.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it says here that this particular event typically draws crowds in the hundreds of thousands, and I think their peak was about 650,000 people one year.
Yeah, and the same thing has been done here actually for the Ark Encounter. The atheists took
And the secular media,
shots of everything before we were open for the day or after we had
Right towards the end of the
when
day.
there's people not people there because we're not even open, and
Yeah.
it's just totally
Oh,
slanting.
I remember one of them who actually put a drone up and took a photograph
I remember
of
that.
our parking lot totally empty. It was Sunday morning, and we're not even open Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
And then they say nobody's coming and so on.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you went to the Ark Encounter today, you could get some photographs showing nobody there in whole sections because January, February,
Well, it's
it's winter,
summer, yeah.
it's low time of
Yeah.
year.
I don't know why. Why don't people go on vacation to Cincinnati in January? I mean,
Yeah, it's
'Cause
a
it's
wonderful day
raining
today.
away.
shorts and your
outside.
goggles and head to Cincinnati.
Yeah, it was icy and slick and snowy
Yeah,
this morning.
25
and
degrees,
25
I mean,
degrees with a wind
beautiful
chill
weather.
less than that.
Yeah.
But do you realize how long that took for
I
that march to
know.
go through? And yet CNN said 1,000 people.
1,000 people.
Because you know what it is? The secular media don't want people to know the incredible support for the
There is
pro-life
for life.
movement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible support. That's growing in this nation. And so fake news, that CNN should change their name to the fake news channel. And probably MSNBC and others
Yeah,
as well.
there's a lot. All right, feathers better than Velcro. Engineers detail bird feather properties that lead to better adhesives and aerospace materials. So this is concentrating on the way that, you know how when you take a bird feather and you kind of do it the wrong way and it sort of unzips and then you push it back the other way and it zips right back up? And it's cool. It's kind of fun to
It is
do,
kinda neat, yeah.
And that's because of the design that God has given to the feathers, that they kind of, these little barbules that allow them to hook into one another.
Yeah, they come together and actually hook over. It's fascinating.
Actually,
really is.
Dr. Menton talks about this, and
That's
he has
right,
a
yeah.
he has a video on that where he
Yep.
talks about that.
It's called
Right,
Form to Fly. And he actually, Dr. David Minton, he's an anatomist, probably one of the world's leading anatomists in my opinion. He put some of these feathers under a scanning electron microscope
You
and
can
zoom right up
see,
and you can
yeah.
see how this works. It is incredible.
Well, this is in the article. You may have seen a kid play with a feather, or you may have played with one yourself, running a hand along a feather's barbs and watching as a feather unzips and zips, seeming to, here's a word, miraculously pull itself back together. That magical zipping mechanism could provide a model for new adhesives and new aerospace materials, according to engineers at the University of California, San Diego. Notice they can't invent it themselves. They've got to look at what God invented,
Exactly.
and then they have to copy
Yeah.
it. Do you notice that?
Yeah, and you know what? I actually encourage that. I want people to go out there and see the way God has designed certain things.
Well,
and-
you're an
and-
engineer, right?
That's right, and you can model after that. In fact, there's whole fields of people doing that sort of
Right,
thing.
it's called
you know.
biomimicry, is the actual,
Yeah.
because you're mimicking, so to speak,
Yeah.
what God has already created.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of fascinating inventions that have come from that. So yeah, I want to encourage.
Well,
them
here's
on
the
that.
interesting thing. They're talking about the barbs and the barbules and so on, and how complex it is, and it unzips and zips and so on. And Dr. Menton, in his video, talks about the fact that evolutionists believe scales evolved into feathers, that feathers evolved from scales.
Right.
When you look at a feather and look at all those complex structures
way.
there, what does it remind you of? A scale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, totally,
exactly.
right.
No.
A scale is an outgrowth of the skin,
Right.
whereas a feather has its own
It grows up a
follicle. And yet
follicle.
They're
evolutionists
totally
believe
different.
feathers evolve from scales. It's stupidity.
And even the person that was studying this said, the first time I saw feather barbules under the microscope, I was in awe of their design. Intricate, beautiful, and functional.
Yeah.
But if somebody believes in evolution, like many scientists do, then it just came about by random chance
it wouldn't
over
be
eons of time. It's not design.
Yeah.
They would say it's apparent design. But even they cannot get away from using that kind of verbiage because it's just so obvious.
Oh, I know. It's just fascinating when you look at this.
Hey, somebody put a comment here. We get all sorts of people putting all sorts of comments, but I believe in Christianity, just not the fundamental version. So what I would say is, I believe in Christianity, and I believe in the biblical
Biblical version, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, because God has given us His word. So So, that's what we should believe, what his word says.
Well, years ago, I actually struggled with that myself. I struggled with some of the concepts of millions of years and read some books on trying to put millions of years into Genesis. And really what I was doing was I was taking the secular pagan ideas of the day and I was trying to mix it with my Christianity. And, it hit me like a ton of bricks one day when it's like, well, hold it, either God's word's right or it's wrong.
Or it's not, yeah.
And you know what? The Bible's right from the very first verse to the very last verse.
And before we started, we were talking, because Bodie is an engineer, and we were talking about engineers and how it's kind of funny. And what we find is that engineers are more likely to be young Earth creationists than a lot of other people.
I've met a lot of engineers that are. I think they, just with the nature of their work, being design and that sort of thing, they recognize the design that they see out there.
I know an engineer that's not. Bill Nye.
Yeah.
This is true. We didn't say all. We said some.
Hey, somebody here from the United Kingdom just booked for the AIG Mega Conference in Birmingham, United
awesome.
Kingdom.
Yeah.
I know I'm speaking at that
And
this
I'm
year.
speaking at
You're
that.
speaking at that.
Yep.
People go to our website, answersingenesis.org, be able to find out about the UK
Conference.
Mega
That's right.
Conference.
It is
We
in
have
October.
our Mega Conference this year is going to be an Easter conference, and people can go to our website to find out about that. We call it's an Easter conference answering atheists, because the atheists happen to run their conference in the area on the Easter week, and they're coming to Cincinnati. So we thought, well, we'll do our conference on that time. And we're going to have a special sunrise service on Sunday morning, a special Good Friday service Friday evening. We got Ray Comfort coming. Easy,
Easy's
his
coming.
son-in-law, and Mark Spence from Living Waters. We got Jason Lyle, Dr. Jason Lyle coming, and there'll be Bodie Hodge there,
I'll
and
be
Dr.
there. Wow,
Purdom, and I'll be there.
Yeah.
And so actually the way we're working it this year, because we're coming up with these special 7-day unlimited passes that allow people to come. For instance, there's a family one, and a family is 3 or more, so parents who have a lot of kids, this is going to be a great deal for them. In fact, we have these now, we just don't have them on the website yet, but they're going up there. But it'll be a 7-day unlimited pass to the museum and the Ark. So during that 7 days, you can come to the Ark and museum as much as you want. It's unlimited parking, so parking's included, and it's an incredible deal. And whatever sessions are on at the Ark or at the museum you go to, and that's when we're running this particular conference. So people, if they're there for the whole 7-day, or get the 7-day ticket, they from the Wednesday through to the Sunday, they can go to any of the sessions.
It's
They're
really
all-
nice. Okay,
All right.
an ancient relative of humans shows a surprisingly modern trait. So this is talking about what they term as archaic humans that lived between 104 and 248,000 years ago. And this
That's
is a
precise, isn't it?
I know, it's kind of a wide range, but it's a fossil of a 6.5-year-old in northern China that supposedly they're saying that its dental growth of this child is very similar to dental growth of modern humans.
Whoa! How fascinating.
So let me get this. Wait a minute. This is an incredible revelation for our studio audience. This is absolutely phenomenal. Dental growth in humans is the same as dental growth in humans.
Right.
Back then,
And-
compared to today.
Wow.
And humans that lived
Think about that.
several
Yeah,
thousand years ago
That's right.
do
This
have
would have
some
been,
different
this would have been
traits.
post-Babel. It would have been after people spread out from Babel, going to different parts of the world, making their way to the northern part of China here. So it is. It's literally probably no
Just
more
a
than
few
4,000 years old
years.
or so.
Yeah.
They say it's a fossil of a 6.5-year-old who lived between, well, you get this, 104,000 and 248,000 years ago. That's a narrow margin of what? 100%?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're way
Well-
off from the actual date,
Yeah.
which is fascinating when you look
Yeah.
at that.
And the thing is, I mean, again,
Now, don't get me wrong, I like the research. It's fascinating that they looked at this and could see, the growth of the teeth, and that sort of thing. And I just wonder if the dentist who discovered all this wins a little plaque.
Hey, Bodie?
there's one pun for
See, that was
today.
a bad one, but
Yeah.
Okay, someone said here, nice comment, Boody, Boody, on mixing science with Christianity. Sorry if I misspelled your name.
I like that, booty.
Booty.
Well, yeah, it's
I think we'll call you that from now on.
I don't think
You
I'm
better
gonna
tell
do
people,
that.
how do you spell your name?
Bodie.
Now, is that your real name?
Everybody likes it.
Yeah.
It's my real name, yeah.
So,
Nobody doesn't.
but these humans that they found, that they're terming archaic, again, they did have some features that are different from humans today, but they're just variations. They're not anything like they may have had more pronounced brow ridges or things like that, but it's not. They were all humans. They were all most likely, marrying, having children. So you do see sort of what they call a mosaic of traits.
Wait a
in these
minute.
individuals.
If all humans are related, that means Bodie and I are related to you.
Sadly, yes.
Well,
Some
you're getting to the
things
root
you
of the
cannot
issue.
change. Yeah. So.
Hey, there's somebody here from South Africa, Durban, South Africa. Somebody from California. That's amazing. I hope the state of California doesn't block you from
Oh my.
from watching Answers News.
Somebody on here says they're coming to the women's conference this year. So
Good.
that'll be at the Answer Center April 5th and 6th. So you can go to answersforwomen.org to find out more information on that. Good?
Okay, so someone here put BOOODIE, the pun guy.
I got baby booty here.
Somebody said they like your puns.
So
All right, good.
So
They're not always the highest
All right.
quality, I'll admit that.
school, kids can't share details on Bible promotion. So this is in
This is in
the
California.
Huntington Beach, California City School District. So the students were trying to share about Bring Your Bible to School Day, which is kind of a day that's advocated by Focus on the Family. And they were told they can't talk about it, they can't hand flyers out about it during school. It's not
this is Huntington Beach, California,
Right.
a city school and city school district. And actually, what they're doing is against the constitutional rights of the students.
Right.
Yeah.
Because courts have ruled over and over again, students have a right under the Constitution, their First Amendment right is to express their views. And if it's in non-class time and they want to hand a flyer about the Bible or talk to the other kids about bring your Bible to school, they can do that.
Right.
They allow others to hand out flyers.
Right. Like
Yeah.
at lunch or recess or things like
It's
that.
just the increasing anti-Christian philosophy
That's right. And
that's
there's also,
permeating the
there's
culture.
also a philosophy out there, in other words, a school can't take a stand for or against a religion. And so sometimes they say, well, we can't be for Christianity. Well, they can't be against it either. And see, that's the problem. Sometimes they think, oh, well, I can go against Christianity. As long as I'm
Right.
not for it, I can go against it. But that's
Well, that's
actually wrong,
inhibiting a religion.
That's right.
And the
too.
courts,
And so that's taking a stand.
well, under the First Amendment, you can't inhibit religion.
Right. So
Actually,
kids have that freedom.
this article says here, one wonders how school administrators come to believe that the voluntary expression of religious viewpoints in the public school is somehow forbidden, but everything else, including the perverse indoctrination of LGBT propaganda, is permissible.
Like we just saw.
Yeah, which
I
shows
mean,
they are okay with religion. They're okay with sexual humanism, which is what
Right.
LGBT comes out of. They've been known to teach Islam in there as well.
oh
So
yeah.
they're okay with religion. What you need to understand is they're not okay with Christianity,
Right, that's-
which is
Well, the school
a
lets
violation.
students hand out flyers with non-religious, what they call non-religious, messages during those times, but these students who want to hand out a flyer about a Christian event, bring your Bibles to school, they won't allow. And yeah, when you think about the previous article we had about California schools, kindergarten through grade 3, and the perverse
Yeah.
stuff that's going to be taught in those textbooks, and
They
yet here's
need
a
the Bible.
Here's a California school district saying students aren't allowed to hand out flyers about bring your Bible to school.
yeah.
These guys need to take logic classes.
All right, the gay penguins of Australia. All right, so when I first started reading about this, I thought,
Happy penguins?
how can penguins be gay? Because that's that's something it's anthropomorphizing. It's trying to put on animals what something
Something's
that
used for
humans
humans.
do, and you're not supposed to do that.
Well, you know why they do this too?
Right.
I've seen it in
Well, I
other
know why they
articles.
do it, yeah.
They want to look at animal behavior, and because they believe we're all evolved and
just
we're all
animals.
related. So if animals do that, it's okay for humans.
Humans to do
But you know what? There's an awful lot of animals that eat their young.
Yeah.
That's right, cannibalism.
So, yeah.
They also rape. They do all sorts of terrible things.
Multiple
praying
partners and-
mantises
yeah.
will rip the head off of the male in many instances and eat them.
Yeah,
right
the
there. I mean, it's
female
just
eats the
terrible.
male.
Yeah.
Spiders are known to do that sort of thing, certain ones. So, I mean,
Yeah, and
Boy.
and what happened is it's two males that they say have bonded, and they say they've bonded because they sing to each other, so to
what if
speak.
they're just friends?
Well, but again, that's anthropomorphizing.
Right.
So, but there's no kind of such thing as that. But they sing to each other, and they actually, because they were preparing a nest, and obviously it's two male penguins, so they're not going to produce an egg. They actually took an egg from a nest that wasn't doing so well, where the parents weren't taking very good care of it, and they put it on that nest, and they actually hatched the egg. They were the only ones in the whole colony that had an egg that hatched, and they're taking care of the penguin.
hatchling, yeah.
So that's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't justify somehow.
There are
LGBT.
species where the males do look after the eggs, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
sometimes
mean,
even in
So why
penguins.
is that anything
well,
remarkable?
they're making it into a political issue. They're making it into that, and when it's
Yeah.
really not.
Well, someone said here, strange how I liked Answers News a while back, but I never see any of your posts. They need to check their notifications, turn
Yeah.
their notifications on. And when Facebook does updates, sometimes
It
you've got to go
changes.
back in
Gotta
and
redo
redo
it.
that.
Yeah. But even they said, they talk about the baby penguin, so to speak, and they said, well, orientation and identity are not its most pressing challenges. I'm like, orientation and identity will never be one of its challenges because it's a penguin. It's not a human being. Like, they don't have issues with these things. So it's just, you can see it really trying to push an agenda.
I wonder if they'd ever do one and have the headline, The Monogamous Penguins of Australia.
Yeah.
Boy, would that make the news?
No.
I mean,
But-
they could have 100,000 of those. They'd probably just say it was
Well,
1,000 of them.
Well, most of these have male and female with the eggs. There was one pair where
did.
two males looked after
Yeah.
the egg, and that becomes the
Well, it even
big
says
thing.
penguins are born with the ability to raise chicks from start to finish, whether they're male or female.
So
And
why-
then it says we're the same. I'm like, no, we're not the same. Quit doing that. Like, we're humans, they're penguins. There's a distinctive difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, cuddly foxes show the softer side of evolution. So this is about an experiment that's actually been going on in Siberia for 60 plus years, basically where they have taken foxes and domesticated them. So these foxes are now just as lovable, so to speak, as a cute little domestic dog through artificial
Don't tell that to my
selection.
daughter. She loves
I
foxes.
know, I want one of these.
So what they're doing is they're actually selecting for non-aggressive traits,
Right,
right? And they say, as they do that, they notice domestic animals' ears are often floppier, tails curlier, flatter faces, smaller jaws and teeth, gracile bodies.
And that's what the foxes look like.
That's
now.
what the foxes are like. So then they say, this helps explain how humans evolved
Yeah.
and became less violent and more domesticated. And they say
Story.
that
Story.
the telltale marks of domestication, as they're talking about humans, are floppy ears. I'm just trying to have
My
a look
ears
here.
are not floppy.
Curly tails,
Yeah. We
No,
won't show you that.
juvenile appearance. So no, they actually say here modern humans appear more juvenile. You're more juvenile, Bodie.
That's true for him.
Booty.
Booty.
With smaller and flatter faces. Who's got the flattest face?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably him.
Much like the skulls of dogs compared to wolves. So you can look at artificial selection in these
Dog.
foxes, in this
Yeah.
dog kind, and then you can say, here's what happened here. This helps explain why humans became domesticated. That's incredible logic.
Yeah.
It makes incredible sense.
All
Yeah.
this is artificial selection.
Yeah.
It's the same way we bred, other domestic dogs from wolves and that sort of thing. What did get me was it was only 10 generations, which in their eyes is just a blink
Oh, yeah.
compared,
that you
in
can
an
do it that
evolutionary
fast.
worldview. So really, that should shock the evolutionists. It doesn't shock us, not
Yeah.
at all in the least.
Well, somebody said, who domesticated the people? Well, what they're saying is that people self-domesticated, okay? Which is another huge difference between us and the foxes. And they're trying to use it to explain altruism in humans, which is that we are willing to give our lives for others or willing to give up things to help other people because from an evolutionary standpoint, it should all be about you and what you do.
But I got a problem. I need to ask you about. See,
Okay.
it says here, as altruistic males began out-competing aggressive males, more robust social networks emerged, and so did the ability to transmit culture. We became nicer.
Right.
There's an awful lot of people out there that aren't nice.
I would agree.
So how do you explain that?
Yeah. What about all those people that...
killing babies in New York?
Yeah, the people that clap for abortion, I mean... Yeah.
Or what about some of these violent people
Yeah,
out
like
there?
think Hitler or Stalin or Pol Pot, some of these guys, there were some terrible atrocities there.
Again, you can't take the
Or Mao
what's
from
happening
China.
with the animals and compare
Yeah.
it to humans.
It's just ridiculous. Hey, somebody said here, coming to see the Ark for the first time in July, on our way to see our family in Michigan. We're at the Creation Museum 4 years ago. Appreciate you all. We've had a lot of comments today, and a lot of
Yeah, a
really,
lot.
really.
Very
Yeah, I had somebody say, poor Bodie. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, well,
Telling you,
he'll
I'm
survive.
getting it up here today.
All right, well, we're out of time for today, so we'll see you back on Monday.
All right, God bless you. All right.